morning, everyone, and welcome to our September edition of Tips and Tricks. This is Fred Foster, and I'm joined today by our regular Tips and Tricks crew, Carlos Simmons, Karen Cefantes, and Dawn Charnan. Today we're going to focus on our app studio, and we have several guests who will discuss different solutions they have developed. Our guest speakers are Serge Everdepol from Johnson Controls, Caleb Nye from Scott's Miracle-Gro, Glee Lim from Navistar, Valerie Wade from Vectrus, as well as Process Maps Rajesh Hoda. So to start us off, I'd like to introduce Serge from Johnson Controls. Serge?
Yeah, thank you, and good morning, or good afternoon, maybe good evening to everybody on the call. My name is Serge Everdepol, Corporate Health and Safety Director at Johnson Controls. Going towards 28 years as an EHS professional, of which 21 years almost in Johnson Controls. And since 2014, I've been heavily involved in first the selection, then the implementation, and now the operation of our Process Map Enterprise EHS platform. Besides my other jobs at the Corporate Health and Safety team. So thanks, Process Map, for giving me the opportunity here to speak a little bit about our experience with the app builder. Before I go into that, a quick overview of Johnson Controls. So if you don't know what Johnson Controls is, or you've heard about us, but you're not quite sure what we do, I definitely recommend you going to our website, www.johnsoncontrols.com, and here where you find lots of information. Just highlights, we're over 100,000 people across the globe. We operate in pretty much any country that you can imagine. And because of our activities, we are very keen on, in a world which is focusing on climate change and sustainability. It's very exciting times to be part of Johnson Controls because our products play exactly into those considerations and those global trends. We're also very proud of our external recognitions of our sustainability and ESG efforts. And here you get a short overview of some of those external indices and certifications and accreditations that we are part of. So what do? We go to market with building products and building solutions, whether that is building automation and controls, security equipment, fire protection equipment, HVAC, or industrial refrigeration equipment. You name it, we have it to fit out any kind of buildings or structures so that people can occupy them or can operate in them or can work in them, and that we can create a safe place to live, a safe place to work, and a safe place to be at all times in a controlled environment. We do that with a suite of products that's all connected with each other, and where digitization and digital is playing a very important part, and even more every day. And how we go to market nowadays, we call it Open Blue, which is that suite of connected items here that allows you or our customers to run their buildings, to optimize the functioning of their buildings, and to proactively monitor and track how their building portfolio is performing. Enough about Johnson Controls. So let's talk a little bit about what we've been doing with App Builder and what I'd like to share with you. First of all, why are we using the app builder within Johnson Controls? From the moment I saw it, I was sort of sold onto it because I immediately saw a couple of advantages here. First of all, app builder is really a very flexible solution to quickly address changing demands in the business, whether that is some new piece of information that you want to collect, for which you need a new form, or whether it's an existing form where you see some changes on or sections that aren't working well, so that you can quickly update those sections and give the people a tool in their hands that works for them. I certainly appreciate that it's for our end users. It's everything that has to do with EHS is a one-stop shop, because the app builder is fully integrated into the enterprise EHS platform, so that we don't tell people to go to different platforms to do different tasks of or EHS related activities. The forms you create are really smart. Imagine the old days, you have 25 questions on a checklist. 5 questions really do not apply to you at all because it has to do with, I don't know, elevated work, and you're not doing anything with elevated work at that point in time. Well, with App Builder, one question about elevated work, and it allows you to suppress those questions, and the end user only gets to do the questions that are important to him or her, and you save time, you save frustration, and you get better quality data at the end of the process. It allowed us to eliminate a couple of non-digital processes, so processes still relying on email or Excel or hard copy. So we try to eliminate all of those, and App Builder has been an important part of that, together with the other modules that we have in the platform. And once the data is captured in a digital format, it then also is very easy there to aggregate that data, to look for trends, and do some monitoring on who's doing them, who's not doing. All of that becomes very easy compared to a non-digital solution. And in the end, thinking of our end users here, being able to do this on Mobile Pro, using these apps, completing an apps, it's all very very intuitive and very easy to use. Has it been a perfect ride? Well, pretty much, yes. So on this slide here, I'm showing a couple of successes and challenges. Definitely one of the main successes that we see at Johnson Controls is that in no time, this initiative, which started as a corporate tool, and we created a couple of forms which we pushed down to the business to say, hey, we need you to do this to capture this kind of information. In no time, that completely turned around, and the business approached us and say, hey, we have these other forms that we'd like to put into this new tool as well, because it would really help us. It would help us doing things we can't do today because we can't figure out the process flow. It will help us automate things we're doing today on paper that is just very cumbersome to collect the records and so on. So please give us access to this. And we have. And so you now see that we are using this tool across the company for a variety of things, from inspections, more observation type activity, pre-job checks, specific data collection that we need for specific industries. So anything that fits onto a form, you see a couple of examples across the organization now. And it's, I'd say also, and that's sometimes forgotten, to build a form is actually quite intuitive as well. So it's very easy to implement because it doesn't take a lot of training there for a person to create a form. Once you've had 30 minutes or an hour instruction, you're actually quite capable of developing quite complex forms yourself. And ultimately, I think it's a win for everybody, because giving people access to App Builder and the success that people enjoy using it, it actually helps driving the adoption of the entire platform as well, because people see the other modules that they are using or should be using, and you get a positive feeling about it through the App Builder as well. We had a couple of challenges. None of these challenges was a showstopper, so that it didn't allow us to deploy, but it caused a little bit of delay, maybe a little bit of frustration, a little bit of unnecessary workarounds to make it happen. So hopefully moving forward, these are a couple of things that through the evolution of the product, we can get rid of. But I'm certainly seeing from our perspective, with all the suite of modules that we have, I see some functional overlap now between different modules, like between App Builder and Audit, or maybe App Builder and the BBS module. So it's a careful balance there on what you use for what you get, what requests you receive. And we do a kind of an evaluation each time to see which of the modules suits best for what the business is looking for. I'm still hoping that over time we'll get 100% automated integration of the data from App Builder into the Insight BI module, which is not 100% automated today. We have multi-language capabilities. Within Johnson Controls, we have 15 languages in the system. App Builder does the same 15 languages, but we as end users, as system administrators, we can't access those translations. You always have to go through the Process Map help desk, which just takes more time and requires more emails going back and forward. So it would be easier for us to be able to quickly fix translations ourselves, like we can do it with 99% of the rest of the platform. And I know, and at the last challenge here, I think also longer term is that the access, or at least our access to this to App Builder, is based on a number of forms, which is a bit peculiar because nowhere else in the platform do you see your access limited to X amount of forms. If you have audit management module, you can create as many protocols as you want. If you have incidents, you can create as many incidents as you want. The subscription isn't based on the amount of protocols or the amount of incidents, where App Builder today works slightly differently. And I think that's going to become a challenge to the commercial success there a little bit, because sooner or later you're going to run into that maximum, and what then? So that's something to consider here. Now, enough about that. Let's go and look at two forms that we've developed ourselves. The first example here, and I won't be doing this online. Some of the other speakers will actually go online, but I'll just do it from the slides here. This is a very simple form that we put together in, I'd say, 30 to 45 minutes, trying to addressing a problem that our business in North America had around collecting data for the quarterly MSHA or mining reporting, because we have branch offices throughout the country, and at each branch office you're going to have a couple of people that from time to time deliver some work at mines, but we capture the hours and the incidents at the branch office, not at the customer level in the system. So we weren't able to tell or to collect the data for MSHA reporting on how many hours, how many incidents we had on mining sites. So we created this very simple form which replaces a solution in inverted commas based on email and Excel, whereby now the branches that do mining activities, they go into the system once per quarter and they fill out this simple form. So in order to make it easy for them, we've created our own fields. We've created a couple of drop-downs with all the appropriate options. So we asked them to tell us which quarter it is, and we told them the months of the quarter as well, because some people were previously were a bit confused between fiscal year quarter and calendar year quarter, which isn't the same for us. We give them the options that what type of a mine it is and what subtype of a mine it is. So there's just no more confusion and a much more streamlined process in collecting this data. And you see a little bit of smartness in this form in the last question. And I know the print is fairly small, but the last but one question is, did you have any safety incidents or injuries? With a yes/no button. If you click yes, you do get the next question, which is then the number of those incidents. But if you click the no button, which is the little insert at the bottom of the slide, when you say no, that last question will disappear, and there's no confusion there that the person no longer has to report how many incidents they had. Very simple form, helped us to streamline a process that was very clunky and absolutely not robust before, and replace it with a digital solution that everybody's happy with a minimal amount of effort. The second form I'd like to share quickly here is much more complicated. It's probably in our top 3 sort of list of complicated forms when you look at the number of questions and the kind of logic and conditions built into it. This is a form we put together for the industrial refrigeration business over here in Europe. And because you're talking Europe and because you're talking industrial refrigeration, there were a couple of considerations here. First, they needed a form that could be used both by the supervisors, so to do an observation and to inspect an individual technician, but they also wanted the same form to be usable by the technicians themselves to inspect their own equipment and PPE and tools and harnesses and so on. So that was a consideration. Second consideration was translations. For the European markets where we operate, we needed this form to work in 7 languages, so English plus 6 translations. And the really nice thing about these stories is that the team there, the EHS team within that business, they had developed their checklist that they wanted to use for this, and they ended up with a 3-page Word document, and then came to realize is we can't use, or we can't give the people in the field a 3-page Word document to try to capture what we want to know. So, and that's where App Builder came along. They saw it, they jumped on it and say, hey, this looks like a very smart solution. And this is what we did. And so this is this is a screenshot or a small screen snip here from the laptop version, from the web app. The nice thing here is that you can really customize how that form looks. And where you see the two sort of white figures here with the safety gear on, I specifically use that in this form because I know within that business they have this Sam the Safety Man concept that they've been using for many years now, that uses the exact same type of white kind of rubbery looking figures, and I was able to use that, so I know that the people in the business who are going to use this form, that they immediately can recognize it as their form. The form exists of many parts, so let me go to the next slide, which is now not moving forward. If anybody else on the presenter team could actually move to the next slide or help me there, because I seem to be a little bit stuck now. There we are. Oh, and now we're too far, obviously. So let's go back. First section, admin, a combination of fields that are mandatory to be completed and fields that will automatically populate, like the user who's creating the form, the date of creating the form, and then pulling in the employee information linked to that location, so that there can be no mistake of which technician is actually being observed. You then go into, and this is where I think we start to see the smartness of App Builder. We have the applicability section. These are all the sections that exist in the form. So if you turn them all on, it's quite a long form to complete, but when doing this exercise, you just know up front that certain sections will not apply, or you choose to look only at specific sections for a specific purpose. So you just check or uncheck all the sections that apply or don't apply before actually going into those sections, and the end user only gets to see those sections that have, and those questions that have been selected for the sections that you turn on. How does a section look? They all look relatively the same. So this is the first section. We call it the zero harm section, which looks more at competencies and behaviors. So here you only have yes, no questions. Color coding, yes is green, no is red. And whenever somebody answers a question with no, you see it where the green arrow is pointing at. There's a comment field that will automatically pop up, and we require then the person to provide comments as to why the answer to a specific question is no. When you look at some of the other sections that people can complete, this is the toolkit inspection section. So here you see sort of more of the options that we've created in the form. You still have the yes, no questions, but you can also have yes, no, not applicable questions, because even the section may apply. Specific questions may not apply within the section. So where appropriate, we have provided a not applicable option for questions as well. You also see the toggle option again. This is an example. So this is electricity or electrical equipment, but if the person is also competent to do live electrical testing and where it's authorized to do so, you can switch on that section and you get 4 or 5 additional questions specific to live electrical. But if that doesn't apply, you just leave it off and you don't have to worry about those additional questions. And then at the end of each of the sections, we allow people to drop in attachments like a picture of the equipment or a picture of the site where there is a problem, so they can easily add it to the report. And then we also allow then, whenever a question fails or an entire section would fail and requires action, that they then create actions from within the App Builder form, which then automatically flows into the calendar module, into the sort of the rest of the platform as well. And then the last section, and this is something the business more and more is asking for it, and it's something that we can't do anywhere else in the system, not in audit. They ask for signatures. So I'm really also pleased that the tool here allows for signatures. In this example here, we ask for the technician that is being observed to sign, and then the supervisor or the team leader who's doing the inspection or observation is requested to sign the form as well. And that brings me to the end of my section here, and I'm handing it back to Process Map now.
Thank you so much, Serge. Just thank you very much. It is just so impressive to see how a corporation can transition from, emails and Excel spreadsheets to consolidated digital process. Everyone can access. So not only in your 7 languages, just very impressive with what you've done with the application. I know that starting this type of initiative can be extremely challenging at first, but JCI just did an outstanding job and is a great example of how a global corporation is able to make this type of change. So next up, we have Caleb Nye. He's an EHS specialist for Scott's Miracle Grow. Thank you so much, Caleb, for joining us today. I just want to ask, why don't you just tell us a little bit more about yourself, Scott's Miracle Grow, and Scott's Miracle Grow's approach on App Builder?
Sure. All right, so again, my name is Caleb Nye. I'm with Scott's Miracle Grow. I have been with the Environmental Health and Safety Group for about 2.5 years now. I've been with Scott's all in all since about 2013, and just absolutely love the company and working there. And if you're in the continental United States, odds are you have heard of us. So the Scott's Miracle Grow is, as you can see here, the largest marketer of branded consumer lawn products, and we just continue to grow. The Miracle Grow company we bring the most recognized lawn and garden brands to the industry. We're headquartered in Marysville, Ohio, where our founder, Owen Scott, began selling lawn seed. We actually still have a hold of the original building in which he did that. The company has grown to an industry leader with regional offices and facilities across the United States, going from Washington State all the way down to Florida, Maine to California. We quite literally are everywhere in the United States. Some of our brands include Miracle Grow, Ortho brands. We are venturing out into hydroponics with things like Buying Sunlight, which is over on the western side of the country, and also developing our consumer brands over in the Netherlands with a company called Gavita. A little bit more here, you can see just some of the brand names that we are a part of. AeroGrow, Botanicare, Scott's Miracle Grow, obviously Ortho, and we're also partnering with companies like Bonnie Plants to bring our consumers a little bit hardier of a products. And so what I'm going to be talking about today is our FST, which is our Field Safety Checklist app. With some of the other apps you may see today, it is not going to have the most bells and whistles, but that is just proof in the pudding that it doesn't need to be over the top and complicated to have fantastic success. With what we have done with this app, it was quickly adopted by our field sales team as all of our sales managers work remotely in and out of cars, in and out of Lowe's and Home Depots here in the United States, traveling from all over their district to meet their merchandiser counselors out in the facilities. Those are the guys that actually put all of our products up on the shelves and stock things from there. And so we needed a solution to help get them signed off on their safety protocols that didn't exactly rely on needing to sit in front of a computer. That's where our app came in. So some of the things that we have learned, you need to know where you want to go to really start building your app. And the more you know, the better you can leverage the controls within the app. And one thing that we also learned is our field sales is incredibly competitive, even amongst each other, where we had a created date in there, but because of some of our locations may not be in the best cell service, some of those records may hang out on the app until we actually have a good signal, at which point then it can sync up. So they were wondering whether or not who really got a full completion first, and we had to change our created date, we had to change from what we had of created date versus current date. The current date is what got us in trouble. So some of the best practices, like I mentioned earlier, have a clear idea of where you want to go, what you want to do, and the type of outputs you want when building the app. And at least for us, to simplifying user experience and having pre-populated fields whenever you can is the best option. The less they have to type, the more they have to type, the less control you have over everything, and just the harder it is for you to pull information out of at the very end. If we can switch over, Rajesh, if you can help me out and switch over to our app, and we'll just run through a little bit from there. So everyone should be able to see our screen. So it is, again, our field safety checklist. And then we'll start out just by asking the employee name. And based on our location in the system, we have some back-end rules that will pull only employees tied to our specific location up in the top right-hand corner. That's going to pre-populate their employee ID in the next field. Yeah, you can just pick anyone, Rajesh. And that'll automatically pick their supervisor name. Then going down, we can, based on whether or not this person is an MNC, or maybe they are truly a sales manager, we'll just populate further questions down on the field. We'll ask whether or not if we're signing off on glasses, the nitrile gloves, whether or not the employee understands all this. If there is any relevant information, that will all be displayed in our little info boxes over on the right. And I do apologize, there may not be the best way to truly describe that, as they're all linking towards Scott's documents. But we have videos on processes listed in there, PowerPoints, some of which are just, physical explanations. But it's really just a simple toggle yes, no field. And then all the way down at the bottom, once everything has been signed off on, we'll just gather the signatures from both the employee and their manager, and everything will be saved and sent off from there, at which point our district managers are starting to argue over who got done first, so they can have that bargaining chip for the next year. But like I said, that pretty much wraps us up. It's not an overly complicated form, just relatively simple, and it has worked fantastically for us.
Wow, thank you so much, Caleb. I bet our listeners are interested in that safety checklist. And simple is often better when it comes to rolling out a new process. I know that internally when we're looking to folks to roll out a new process, it works out better if it's simple and less to kind of take in. Next, our next presenter that we have is going to be Glee and Nicolette from Navistar, who will present a little bit about their company and how Navistar was able to leverage the vaccine tracker solution. So go ahead and take it away, Glee.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Glee Lim. I've worked in occupational health for over 30 years, 14 years in Navistar, in which the last 6 years I've managed the medical affairs for the company. Now, the presenter is Nicolette Tamburello, and her background is in public health, and she joined us as a medical assistant April of this year and has done a great job supporting me in the medical department. This fire truck that you see here is an international brand and was established in 1831. The product development has come a long way since this time. Who we are. Navistar is a leading North American commercial truck, school bus, and engine manufacturer. As of July this year, we are officially part of Traton, global champion of the truck and transport services. Our headquarters is in Lisle, Illinois. Worldwide, we employ over 12,000 employees. Our business operations are primarily in the U.S., Canada, Mexico, and Brazil. We have the largest dealer network in North America, including service partnership with Love's Travel Stops. We have several brands under our umbrella. A few are international brand commercial trucks and engines, an IC bus brand school and commercial buses. Nearly 1 in 5 Class 6 through 8 vehicles on the road today is an international truck. Nearly half of all school buses that you see on the road out there today are our IC bus brand. In 2020, our consolidated net revenue was $7.5 billion. Navistar on-site clinics provide medical care and support for our employees. Our mission of the Medical Services Department is to prepare and maintain a healthy workplace capable of delivering strong products, sound values, and solutions for a changing world. This mission is achieved by multidisciplinary approach, ensuring that our employees are suitable for work that they perform, and we facilitate job placement. We reduce the risk of occupational injury and illnesses, ensure prompt and appropriate cost-effective treatment of occupational injuries and illnesses, minimize lost time by facilitating timely return to work, and promote employee health and wellness. In the U.S., Navistar has 4 manufacturing plants, and we have 4 on-site health clinics at Melrose Park, Illinois, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Springfield, Ohio, San Antonio, Texas. And our on-site clinics operate during normal production hours, and we're staffed with registered nurses, a physician assistant or nurse practitioner under the oversight of a physician. Now I'm going to turn over the next slide to Nicolette.
Thank you, Glee, for that introduction. So Process Maps helped develop the vaccination tracker app for Navistar's employees to use. It is a very user-friendly app where our employees can upload their own vaccination card. If there are cases where our staff might not feel comfortable uploading their cards and they want to make sure their medical information is going to the right place, so in that case, they would go to our medical staff and they have the ability to upload that employee's vaccination card on their behalf. Submitting a vaccination card is completely voluntary, but our company highly encourages every employee to do so. So let's go over the steps on how to use the app, starting with the employee perspective, and then we'll get into the medical perspective. So how the app works is very easy, simple. Navistar sends out an email to all of its employees, and we provide the 4 easy steps for them to upload their card. So they'll visit the website that we provided them for Process Maps. They'll click on the vaccination tracker app. They'll hover over the app, and then you'll see the data, modify, and new options populate. They will click on data. They'll click add in the upper right-hand corner of the page after they click on data, and then they'll be able to proceed with the rest of the information that they have on their card. I would like to reiterate that this is completely voluntary, and if an employee is not comfortable using the technology or they prefer the medical staff to upload it on their behalf, they have that capability to do so. And in the process of uploading their card, their views from the employee perspective and the medical perspective is very similar. However, there's only one difference when a medical staff is uploading their card, which we will get into within the next couple of slides. So let's go over how exactly the app works from the medical perspective. Me, which I do often, I'm a medical staff, I'll upload an employee's card by going to the vaccination tracker app. I'll press the new button, and then to the next step, when I upload a person's card, I will select my own name under the medical staff dropdown, and then I will select the name of the employee. These are all dropdowns. In the dropdown, a list is provided of all the names of the employee at that site, and then the date and time are automatically populated. And then we answer yes to confirm that yes, they have been vaccinated, and that will formulate additional questions, which I will show next. But to go back to the employee perspective, I just want to reiterate, when the employee opens the app, they will not see the medical staff option, the drop-down. They will only see the employee name and the rest of the options below. So let's go to the rest of the steps when you answer yes to if someone has been vaccinated. We have an example here, then it would populate different additional questions, The additional questions are you would have to enter the manufacturer that is given directly from the card. It's either Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and those are the only three options you can choose from. And once you choose the manufacturer, the dates that someone received their vaccinations will populate, and you enter them directly through a little calendar. You can choose the exact date that they received their dose. And then after filling out the dates, then you have the ability to upload a copy of that person's card, either by uploading a file that you save to your computer, or if you have it saved to your desktop, you could just drag and drop the attachment and it will save to that record. And lastly, the easiest step is just pressing the save button at the top, and then it'll save to the database. And that's the best feature of this, is that our medical staff can reference back to who has been vaccinated, because it provides an entire list, and then you can also export that data if you need to reference back to if someone has been vaccinated or not, if need be. Glee, do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Nikki, for that presentation. She has worked really hard on uploading all of this vaccination information, and the Vaccination Tracker app, in collaboration with ProcessMap, helps achieve our goal by encouraging, our employees to get vaccinated and that they report their status. To date, we do not require, Navistar or it's not mandated to have the COVID vaccination. As Nikki and I have said, it is purely voluntary and is kept confidential in our electronic medical record system. And we also set it up that there's going to be an alert to the medical staff whenever an employee uploads their COVID vaccination card. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that information. It's very interesting, especially now since the announcement from the president, what corporations are doing internally to mitigate this potential policy. Although right now it is strictly voluntarily for your Navistar employees, I'd just like to see how you're already getting into the habit of gathering that information. Data is power. You're able to export. You even have notifications in the app. So really great way of utilizing the tools of App Builder to get through these regulatory policies and these procedures that are heading our way. Next up, we have Valerie Wade. She's a certified quality auditor with Vectrus and is responsible for providing system administrator services and data analysis. Thank you so much for joining today's roundtable, Valerie. I did want to ask you, what app is your company using internally, and what problem is it helping you solve?
Hi, thank you. So today I'll be presenting the CAR app, which stands for Corrective Action Report. Some of you might know it as an NCR. So the problem it's solving is that it allows us to track nonconformances across the company. So a little bit about Vectrus. Vectrus is a leading provider of global service solutions in the areas of base operation support, supply chain, logistics, IT, engineering, digital integration, security, and maintenance. And also overhaul of ground and aviation systems. Our primary client is the U.S. military, and our management team averages about 28 years of experience in the military and industry. And we also have a diverse global workforce spanning across 27 countries with over 9,000 employees. Another thing to mention is that our quality management system is ISO 9001 certified. So today I'll be going over the CAR app. Why did we create the CAR app? We wanted the ability, first of all, to standardize how we address nonconformances and to be able to track them across the company. This gives us the flexibility to analyze the data and pinpoint key issues and activities. We use the app to create custom dashboards that provides metrics to our management and allows them to make data-driven decisions. So I'm going to go into the CAR app workflow. It starts with the initial entry, which is the identification of the nonconformance. After that, it goes to our quality team for approval. They will validate the findings. After that, we hold what's called a corrective action working group, or COG. That's when the team will get together and conduct the root cause analysis and develop a corrective action plan. After the corrective action plan is developed, it goes into the implementation stage where the team will implement all the corrective actions, and once those are done, it's submitted to quality review. So I guess what I'll do now is I'm just going to move into the app and do a live demonstration. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so what I've done is I've created a generic record in our training environment to show you what it looks like. So this is the list view, the default view, and it shows you the status of where this car is at with the blue check marks. A cool thing about the list view is you can customize it any way you want, and you can show any field that's in the app in the list view. You can export this in Excel, so a lot of our employees, they create their own custom view and export it so that they can provide a quick report either to management or to the client. So the first part of the app is the initial entry. So the person entering the nonconformance will go in and enter all of these fields. For example, the department they work in, there's a drop-down. If it's an internal car or an external car, there's a feature of app builders. You can build in these dependencies. So if I say that this is an internal identification, external, then it's going to ask you to put the client number and identification source. Same with if it's a subcontractor nonconformance, then put in the information of the subcontractor. So this one, we're going to say it's program quality. We have the calendar feature. We could put dates, date of finding, date of issue, who submitted the request, and you can assign an owner. The nonconformance summary is just a quick title that you're going to see in the list view. And then here you would put in the description, a detailed description of the actual nonconformance. So in this example, I'm just choosing something very simple. And then the requirement. Every nonconformance should go against a requirement, and our source document for most of our programs is our performance work statement. So I took one from one of our contracts, which is maintain vehicles. And then they put the car level and the risk rating. Another feature that we like to use is these information icons. So for example, if you don't know how to do the risk rating, when you click on this, it's linked to an informational document that shows you how to do the risk with likelihood and consequence. There's also a place to upload attachments for objective evidence. And once this initial entry is complete, they're going to click this toggle. When this toggle is clicked, PMAT generates an automatic email to the quality team notifying them that this car is ready for review and approval. So what they'll do is go into PMAT. And so initially, these sections are hidden. You have to click on each toggle to go into the next step. There's also permission set too. So for example, only the quality team can do the quality approval, depending on your permission level. So they approve the COG, and if they reject it, they would put why, and then put a date for the COG to be conducted. And once this toggle is clicked, it sends an automatic email to the car owner notifying them that they have a nonconformance and that they need to conduct, and they need to hold a COG, Corrective Action Working Group. So this is when a team of subject matter experts or anyone that has involvement in this nonconformance will get together and do the root cause analysis. So we've built in some action items in here. The first one being the immediate action done to correct the problem. So in this example, the vehicle is down, so we said repair vehicle. And then you can see the status of this one, that it's already been closed. Next, we go into the root cause analysis. We use the 5 whys method. So they'll go in and do the 5 whys until they get to the root cause. And we have these root cause categories built in. This one we're just going to say it's lack of preventive maintenance. Next, you assign corrective actions to identify the root cause and prevent reoccurrence. So in this example, I'm going to open one. So this is the initial creation. We said develop a preventative maintenance schedule, right? One of the features too is if you hit this notify owner immediately checkbox, it'll send an email to the owner notifying them that they have an action item that's due. So that way they know they can go into process map. There's also a place for attachments where they can upload objective evidence showing that this item was complete. So we have the corrective action, the preventive action. Once the COG is complete, this toggle is clicked and it sends an email to the process owner notifying them that the CAP implementation phase is going on now. And so they're going to be responsible for making sure that all of the action items are closed, implemented, and once that's done, they submit it to quality review, which is the next section. When they hit this toggle, this sends an email to the quality team letting them know that the car is ready for review. And they're going to make sure that the CAP was implemented, meaning that the corrective action items were completed, and was it effective, meaning that the nonconformance did not happen again. So if this is all good to go, then they close the car, and then the car owner will get another email notification letting them know that this has been closed and no further action is required. And yep, that's the car app. I'll hand it off to the next person.
Wow, Valerie, that really is impressive how you were able to use those notifications to allow people to know each step of the process. So I commend you for, I don't know if it was you or the process map teams for thinking that through, but I know that notifications are always very useful when it comes to processes such as these, that people need to be notified every step, or basically where we're tag teaming another member. Now it's your turn to fill out your portion of the app or the process. So very good, and thank you so much for being able to demonstrate that to us. I think that our listeners were able to get benefit from that. Last but not least, on our schedule today, we have invited our very own app builder SME, Rajesh Hota. Rajesh has been a major part of the development of our app library, and in typical tips and tricks fashion, we wanted to put some tools in your pocket to carry with you. So our guests today they were able to provide some tips and best practices on how to use App Builder, but we brought Rajesh in to teach us some neat tricks. So Rajesh, thank you for joining us, and we're really excited to see what you have to show us. Some of the tricks Rajesh will be covering today, team, is auto-populating fields using dependencies and filters. He'll be reviewing our formula builder, as well as showing us a utility feature and some security features that have been highly requested for us to just touch a little bit more on. I know our security is a big question when it comes to App Builder, so I hope that everyone sees the benefit in today's presentation. And take it away, Rajesh.
First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this absolutely wonderful topic on App Builder. So I'm sure by now most of you would be knowing a good part of this features and the cool features that we have in App Builder, but still it is a good to reiterate and have a refresher on these features. So allow me to share my screen. So I will be presenting live demo of these. So I hope you guys are able to see my screen. So the first one is the auto population feature, which can be used, as the name suggests, to auto populate some of the fields. So the classic use case for this is the employee name field Caleb using in his demonstration. We can use it to populate variety number of fields, like as soon as we select the name, several fields like all the dependent fields will be populated, the employee name, his address, employee phone number, his supervisor name, also the supervisor email. Like with this latest release, we have added this field as well, where as soon as you select an employee, we can populate the supervisor email as well. So where you want to send a notification to the employee supervisor. So it's not necessary to always show these fields, like we can have these fields in the form and have it hidden, but having this field in the form will enable you to use it in the notification setup, right? So suppose the use case is to send a notification to an employee supervisor. So having this field in the form and having it hidden, we can use it in the notification setup to send a notification whenever a record is added for a particular employee. So similarly, this employee is a system data source, but we can use this auto population for custom data source as well. Like multiple, like we can add a custom data source with multiple values we can add, and we can similarly use the way we have been using the employee data source. Similarly, we can create our own custom data source and can use this auto population feature. So the next one is the dependency feature, which again, as the name suggests, is like once you select a particular field, its dependent values can be shown. So as you see, like as of now, there is no states, but as soon as the classic use case is the country and states fields. So as soon as you select the country, the dependent will pop up. And as you select any other country, the states of that country will pop up. So this is again the system data source, the country and states system data source that you have already with you at your desktop. And we can put filters as well. Like suppose you want to put filters, like you select United States and you don't want to populate all the 50 states. right? So you can put filters as well as here to select all the states in which you are operating, or you can select any number of states that you want to show in the state. So you can put the filters accordingly. So we give this feature feature of configuring and putting a filter what you can see in the state. Similarly, like these are, as I said, these are the system data source. You can create your own custom data source, and you can have this hierarchy, like up to 3 or 4 level of dependency. Like as you say, like these are the 3 fields that I've set it up. Like here, the second level of values will pop up, and based on whatever you select in the second level, the third level should pop up. So if I select, go ahead and select access control, this value should pop up, like whatever first, and based on the second, you can select the third level of values that can be popped up for the third level. So this is a multi-level dependent feature that you can utilize, and this is highly configured based on whatever value you use in your data source. You can set it up accordingly. So this is the auto populate and dependency feature that we have in App Builder. Next is the formula builder. Like I know, like this has been quite a while since we released this feature in App Builder. And multiplication and division, you can utilize formula builder in many ways. Like we can definitely go ahead and add the basic, but what we can use formula builder is, suppose you want to select a date and you want a after date that you needs to auto populate based on whatever selection you select here. So once you select this, a after date will be automatically populated formula that what you can select. Similarly, we can use to come up with a date difference for the dates that you have selected, and this is quite useful. Suppose you want to send a notification after 7 days of what or an alert or a notification to be sent after 7 days or 15 days for after creating a record. So this can be used for that purpose. Similarly, we can use it for time as well, with the time difference and the after time as well. A use case for formula builder is consider you have several set of questions, a form where you have a set of questions, and based on the answers or the responses, you want to calculate the score, whether there is a risk associated with whatever responses you have added on. So you can use formula builder for that. Like suppose here you answer a particular questions and the score will be automatically calculated. We can show based on out of whatever the response you have selected. So this is again we can use formula builder, and accordingly with whatever response you select, the score will be calculated and risk level will be shown. So this is quite a good use of formula builder. We can use formula builder for this purpose as well. Coming to the next feature, which I call as a utility feature, which is again a very specific of utilizing some of the cool features that we have in App Builder. So consider a use case where you have a section and you have around 50 to 60 questions that needs to be answered, and consider a case where stakeholders, like there are 5 to 6 stakeholders that have their individual section, and they have to come up like whenever a record has been created, suppose an MOC record has been created, right? And there are 5 approvers who has to come and answer their individual sections and has to come up and answer their, like we can have this not applicable toggle button at the top of the section where clicking of it will mark sections. They are not, this section is not applicable to whatever record or whatever process has been added. So we can utilize this feature where they can, instead of like going through each of these questions separately, I've come up with only, but there are customers where they have around more than 50 questions or more than 30 to 40 questions. So we can utilize this feature where they can come and just clicking of this button, they can make this whole section as not applicable, and that will definitely save them time. And not only this, they can utilize for any answering for any other value as it is highly configurable. So this is again a utility feature that I thought of sharing with you on. The last one is again it's related to a security feature where you want to know where, like, who has modified this record or who has added this record. There is a case where you have an MOC record, a record has been added, and there is an approver who needs to approve that section. But sometimes, for whatever reason, the person asks someone else to approve on his behalf. Okay, in that case, the logged in user can, like, he can select the approver name, but as soon as he selects his name, there's a field like who has actually approved, who has actually logged in during that in the system. So we can, as you see, disabled field, but as this is configurable, we can make this as enabled also. But this will help you to or help the admin to know, like, who has actually modified or who has this record. So this is again a good feature where apart from the signature field, we can use to show them who has actually logged into the system. So yeah, these are some of the cool features that we have in App Builder. So I can talk for like almost an hour or for all the features that we have. But that's all I have for today. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rajesh. Thanks to all the presenters today. Great ways to utilize this application for App Builder. Before we close, we wanted to remind everyone that Process Map has a COVID-19 vaccination tracking solution that helps all organizations maintain compliance with the rapidly changing regulations. With features such as centralized repository for all your vaccination statuses, easy self-reporting via mobile solution, and adherence to the compliance and security. If you would like more information on this, please make sure to contact your customer success manager for more information. And that will be all for our tips and tricks today. At this time, I'm going to open up the floor for any questions. Carla?
Yes, I'm actually not seeing any questions on the Q&A box. We did have a couple that were already answered, and it had to do with the media screen. So we did get those answered. And I'm not seeing anything at this time. However, folks, as always, you can always feel free to reach out to your customer success manager or even any of the presenters today. If you have any questions, we will be happy to follow up with you. And I also wanted to get everyone thinking about customer choice. So every year we do have a tips and tricks centered on customer choice. This was actually one of them that was presented from you. So we have brought you the App Builder Roundtable. There have been other ones suggested, and we are looking internally. But if there are any topics that you're intrigued in hearing more about, please let your customer success manager know. They will get that information over to us. You can put it in the Q&A also. Any method of communication just to get those ideas over to us, we will greatly appreciate it so we can get you the terminology and the data that you ultimately want and will be of value for your daily lives in Process Map. Other than that, that does wrap up this month's tips and tricks. Thank you everyone for joining. And this is Carla Simmons signing out. Have a good day.